Can I start now? Okay. Hello. Good
Добрый
morning.
день, доброе утро.
Good morning. My name is Raekwon Chung. I'm
Меня
from
зовут
Korea,
Raekwon Chung,
and
я сам
it
из
is my great pleasure
Кореи, и мне
meeting you
доставляет
this
большое
morning.
удовольствие встретиться с вами сегодня
Especially
утром,
you are
особенно
the young
с
generation
учетом того,
and the
что вы
leader of the
представляете
future of
молодое
Russia.
поколение и
It's a very
лидеры
important
будущего
country,
России. Россия
and
очень важная
this
страна.
is why I
И
feel
именно
that it is a great
поэтому
opportunity and
я
pleasure for
думаю,
me
что это
to be
огромная
able to meet you
возможность и одновременно удовольствие для меня
and deliver
встретиться
some
с
of
вами
my
и
messages.
поделиться с вами
I hope it
некоторыми
could be
своими
useful for you.
соображениями, которые, как я надеюсь, окажутся для вас полезными.
I would appreciate if somebody can close the door.
Дверь не могли бы закрыть на всякий случай?
Yeah. Today, I would like
Сегодня
to tell you
мне
that
хотелось бы
very new, recent
поделиться с
global
вами
trend, which is called
соображениями о
Net Zero
недавних глобальных
2050.
тенденциях.
Any of
То есть
you
это
heard
Net Zero
about Net Zero
2050.
2050? Any of you heard about it?
Этой теории вы слышали, этой тенденции
Okay.
Net Zero
So Net
2050?
Zero
Net
2050, which is
Zero
the title of
2050
my
это
speech,
название моей
about
презентации.
reducing
Речь пойдет о
carbon
снижении
to
выбросов
zero
углерода до
by
нулевого
2050.
уровня к
That's
2050
the idea
году.
of Net
Вот
Zero
это вот
2050.
и вся
So we have about
идея
29
этой
years
тенденции Net Zero
until we
2050.
should make our
Нам
carbon
осталось
emission
немного лет,
to go
меньше
down to
30 лет,
zero.
для того, чтобы
Do you think it's
смести
possible?
выброс углерода к нулю.
huge task.
Считаете ли это
It's a huge
возможным?
task.
Это чудовищная по масштабам задача.
My topic will be,
Я буду говорить с
in order
вами
to achieve
о
Net
том,
Zero
что
2050,
потребуется для
we
достижения
need
Net
a
Zero
quite
2050.
different
Нам для этой
science.
цели
We
необходима
cannot
совершенно
rely on
иная наука.
conventional,
Мы больше не можем
old
полагаться на
to
традиционную
achieve
старую
Net Zero
науку для
2050.
достижения
This is the
Net
message I'm
Zero
going to
2050.
talk about this
Именно
morning.
эту мысль я хотел бы донести до вас сегодня.
My number one message to you is that the world
Во-первых, я
is
хотел бы сказать,
changing.
что
The
мир
world is
меняется. Мир
Yes, the world has been
меняется,
changing, yeah,
да,
in certain way.
и
But
мир и
the
раньше
kind of change
менялся,
we
но
are
те
experiencing
изменения,
now
которые мы
is a very
переживаем сейчас,
fundamental
носят
and structural.
фундаментальный и структурный
Because
характер,
our
поскольку
civilization
наша
is built
цивилизация
on
построена
very cheap
на
fossil
дешевых,
fuel
очень
carbon
дешевых
emission.
ископаемых
We
видах
didn't have any
топлива, что
problem
приводит
of
к
emitting
выбросам
carbon
углерода.
until
До этого
we
выброс
realized
углерода
that
нас не беспокоил.
climate change
Это
is
продолжалось до тех
happening
пор, пока мы
because of the carbon
не
emission we
поняли,
are making.
что климат меняется
We realized
именно
it
из-за выбросов
quite
углерода,
recently.
которые мы создаем.
Quite recently.
Это осознание
This year,
пришло достаточно
the physics
недавно.
Nobel Prize
В этом
went to
году
those three people who
Нобелевская премия по
analyzed and
физике была вручена
climate
3
change
людям, которые
about more than 30
проанализировали
years ago.
и прогнозировали
These
изменение
people got
климата
the
еще
Nobel
лет
Peace
30
Prize,
назад.
Nobel
Эти люди
Physics
получили Нобелевскую премию по физике.
because the climate is changing.
Климат
Do
меняется.
you think? Do you
Считаете ли
personally
вы,
believe that the
лично вы
climate is
считаете,
changing? Anybody has
что
a doubt about it? You
у
don't
кого-то
believe?
есть
Is there
сомнения,
anybody who
кто-то из вас
doesn't believe that
не
climate is
верит,
not
кто-то в
changing?
этой аудитории не верит, что климат меняется?
So,
Хорошо.
what's the problem of
Это была
changing climate?
проблема изменения
It is
климата.
very clear that
Вполне
if
очевидно,
the
что
climate is
если
getting warmer,
климат,
then 2
температура
degrees or
повышается
even 1.5 degree,
на 2 градуса или хотя бы на
they
1,5
say,
градуса,
the scientists
ученые
say,
утверждают,
our survival will be
что само наше
very
выживание
seriously threatened.
будет под серьезной
This
угрозой.
is why we are concerned
Именно
about it.
поэтому
So,
эта тема
Since the
вызывает у нас
world is
такую
changing,
озабоченность,
the new
поскольку
world
мир меняется и
need
превращается
new
в
paradigm.
новый мир. Новому
Net
миру потребуется
Zero
новая
2050
парадигма.
is a new paradigm.
Net Zero
To limit
2050 – это
the
новая
climate change
парадигма,
within 1.5
которая
degree.
хотела
So,
бы
since the
сдержать изменение климата в пределах
election,
1,5
presidential
градусов.
election in the United States,
После президентских выборов в США президент Байден, новый президент, продвигает и является приверженцем этой тенденции Net Zero 2050. После этого Евросоюз, США и даже Китай сказал 2060, Корея и более 130 стран приняли обязательство поддерживать эти усилия, чтобы достичь Net Zero 2050, с тем, чтобы ограничить повышение климата 1,5 градусами. Именно это и мы наблюдаем сейчас. Как я уже сказал вам, до пандемии COVID-19 и до изменения климата наша цивилизация была основана на принципах свободного капитализма и поглощения огромного количества углеводородов. Одна из особенностей, важных характеристик свободного капитализма состоит в том, что он не учитывает экологический и социальную цену наших выбросов в рыночной цене. Это подтолкнуло к усилению тенденций по изменению климата и даже к пандемии COVID-19. Пандемия COVID-19 – один из кризисов, которую подстегнул, или триггером, который стал изменение климата. Изменение климата может вызвать в жизни многочисленные проблемы. Это один-единственный вирус, казалось бы, но мы можем ожидать и новых вирусов, которые появятся в результате таяния льдов в Сибири и в Канаде. То есть зоны вечной мерзлоты. Мы не знаем, с какими вирусами мы столкнемся, какие вирусы проснутся к жизни в случае таяния льдов. После коронавируса, после период до коронавируса и после коронавируса, как до Рождества Христова и после Рождества Христова, мы теперь должны перейти к цивилизации без углерода, и рыночная экономия, поддерживающая устойчивое развитие. Что значит устойчивое развитие? В сравнении со свободным рынком. Это совершенно иная идея. Устойчивый рынок – это рыночная система, которая отражает цену углерода в рыночных ценах. Наша конъюнктура спроса и предложения при покупке продукта какого-то, будь то бензин или природный газ, в нашем случае мы не платим цену за выброс углерода, а при устойчивом развитии мы должны платить за углерод, который мы выделяем. Именно поэтому я...
You heard about sustainable development, I believe, but not many people talking about how we change our economy and the market system. Without changing the market from free market to sustainable market, I don't think we can achieve sustainable development or net zero 2050. So this is today, this morning, this is part of the program of All Russia Science Festival. I will tell you two issues from the angle of science. One from social science, another one from natural science. When we talk about science, many people only think about technology. Yeah, many people think science is about technology. But I hope you could expand the science to include even social science, which is, for me, even could be a lot more important than technology science or natural science, which is, in other words, economics. For example, Marxism is also one form of social science with a specific, based on specific ideology. But now the free market is also based on specific ideology. But if we are going to achieve net zero 2050, then we have to pursue new climate economics. I call it new climate economics, not just neoclassical economics or free market economics. With this idea is, new climate economics is about the zero-sum game. Do you know the zero-sum game? Zero-sum game is a game when one person wins, then the other person has to lose. If there's a two-player, and if the one player wins, the other player has to lose. That's a zero-sum game. And why I call it zero-sum game is that the current free market economics, when we pay for carbon, then economic profit goes down, economic growth goes down. This is the belief. The reason why the government has not investing in climate change is because they believe if we pay for carbon, it is a cost and a burden. So the economic growth will go down. So economy will be growing slowly, and no economic growth, job creation will be reduced. This is the idea. I call it zero-sum game between economy and the environment. So we have to move away from zero-sum game to positive-sum game. Positive-sum game means if I win, the other person does not have to lose. It can be win-win. Any of you have watched recently the game called the Squid Game? Any of you watched the Squid Game? Okay. In the Squid Game, it's a zero-sum game. If somebody wins, somebody has to lose. It's a zero-sum game. You cannot win together. It's a Squid Game, it's a kind of zero-sum game. But if the relationship between economy and the climate is a zero-sum game, then there's no hope we can solve the problem. It has to be a win-win positive-sum game. Maybe somebody might remember the word kambu in Squid Game. Kambu means that sharing, and you don't have to lose, even though somebody has to win again. So both of them can win together. So this is a positive-sum game. And we have to realize the positive-sum game between climate and economy. Otherwise, it's very difficult to achieve net zero 2050. This means the social science, the current social science, which is economic, free market economics, the climate and economy relationship is zero-sum. And if we try to invest in climate, then economy has to go down. But we cannot no longer maintain that kind of a zero-sum game. Okay? And for natural science, I would like to tell you this morning that any of you who are scientists or engineering in the natural science technology, there's a huge new blue ocean of new opportunity for technology for clean energy future. We have to decarbonize our economy and civilization. Then there's a huge demand. For example, hydrogen. How can you produce hydrogen in a most efficient and economical way? That so many scientists, companies, and the governments are competing to be the leader of hydrogen production, because hydrogen is a clean energy. So there's a huge opportunity. If any of you can come up with the innovation for hydrogen, clean hydrogen, then you will be the billionaire. You don't have to do Squid Game. Okay? So I'm telling you that in natural science, the new CCS is about carbon capture and storage. Supergrid is connecting thousands of kilometers with the electricity grid. what I want to emphasize to you here is that Russia has not only oil and gas, Russia also has a huge potential for exporting hydrogen and renewable energy by using carbon capture and storage technology and the supergrid technology. This is the kind of my conclusion, but I'm telling you my conclusion up front. And I will now slowly go back to starting about climate change issues. The climate crisis, I don't have to explain and read all of this. You can read it. And I will show you some of the photos later. And then this is a very recent IPCC report. It was released August 9. This IPCC is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. In fact, IPCC got the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. And I was one of the members of lead author for IPCC technology report. This is why I got a personal copy of the Nobel Peace Prize of IPCC in 2007. So I had the kind of honor of having that kind of the share of Nobel Peace Prize of IPCC in 2007. And this IPCC recently concluded the global temperature has already went up 1.1 degree. And it's going up to 1.5 degree by 2021 or any time from now to 2040. And the CO2 level has went up to 410 ppm. It started from 280 ppm before the Industrial Revolution. The sea level is going up and heat wave is also getting more serious. This is the concept of a carbon budget. Carbon budget means in order to limit the climate change up to 2 degrees, we have the total carbon budget of 2,900 gigaton, and the only remaining balance is 610 gigaton by 2019. Already 2 years passed, but the carbon emission every year is more than 34 gigaton. So the carbon budget will run out at best within 20 years, which means within 20 years, global temperature will go above 2 degrees. Now the climate crisis happening is only by 1 degree. But if we go up to 2 degrees, then it will be a lot more serious. And our survival will be at real risk. So this is the message I'm telling you. So I want to show you some of the photos. This photo is this year in April in France. In April, in the middle of April, in France, in southern France, they got the snow and the freezing weather. They never had it before. So I think this year, the grape, the wine, maybe will be the worst. They could not have a very nice wine this year. This is a dramatic, this is showing, a picture showing that French wine grower is setting up a candle to keep warm temperature in the vineyard. It's really very strange. This is about kangaroo running in Australia and wildfire. As maybe you might heard, Australia has been experiencing the most serious wildfire in history. It could be watched from the satellite, and the kangaroo is running through those wildfire. This picture is from, do you think where this picture is from? It's from Los Angeles. So Los Angeles, very close to the rich suburban area, where there's a very nice rich village. And then even up to them, their backyard is now burning down. It's in Los Angeles. Okay. Now, I will talk about Russia. This is a photo of it's last year in Siberia. It went up to 45 degrees Celsius. I couldn't believe it, but I saw it from Google. And even Seoul, where I live, the temperature didn't go up any further than 35 degrees. But in Siberia, 45 degrees, and wildfire, a lot of forest fire. It's really unbelievable. And this is heat and fire about the Siberia. And this is 38 degrees, and it's June 25, in Veryansk, Russia. At the Arctic area, you have this kind of wildfire. Can you believe it? Anybody heard about it, or am I telling you for the first time? You heard about it, right? You never heard about it? First time? Yes. Really? Yeah. Oh, I saw it last year, but you didn't see it before, okay? And then, how about this? This is anthrax outbreak in the Arctic Circle, Yamal Peninsula. It was in 2016, 5 years ago. And the reindeer and the people died because of this anthrax. And this happened because of the melting ice, and the anthrax virus were released because the ice was melting from the primitive carcasses of the reindeers. Do you remember this story? You don't remember? Some of you might know about it. Then the issue is, you never know what kind of another virus coming up later when the Siberia is melting down. Because you remember the mammoths, you know, the age of mammoths. Then what kind of virus was there in the body of the mammoths? So we have to fight with the virus which might have lived within the body of the mammoths later. So this is the kind of situation. This is a super typhoon. Okay, I don't want to spend the time on it. I don't want to explain about it. This is a global warming scenario. It could be from 1 degree to up to 4-5 degrees. And this is the one thing, just I want to emphasize one thing. Very strangely, the area where the climate change will be the biggest is North Arctic area, which is here. Here. This area, the temperature rise will be the highest in this area, where Russia is about your story. But in the middle of this equator, actually the temperature rise is not as high as the Arctic area. So the impact of climate change will be the most severe in Russia. And the CO2 concentration started like from 280 ppm. Now it reached above 400 ppm, but it all happened only recently. It all happened only recently. So it is clearly the results of the human intervention, of increasing fossil fuel emission, combustion. And this is the global emission trend. Global emission is growing crazy like this. It's rising so rapidly. But we have to reduce this. We have to reduce this to zero by within 29 years. So this is a huge task. Okay, then I will tell you once again what is the root cause of the current multiple crises. The root cause is the economics is the root cause, free market economics. Number one, extreme short-termism, which means we are only talking about short-term GDP growth and the profit. Everybody, all government, all business, and all of you people are so much concerned about short-term economic growth and profit. Yeah, that is natural. It's a human being. I'm not blaming it. It's a human nature. There's no problem with that. But the problem is, we cannot stay with this kind of short-termism. We have to move to long-term sustainable market. Otherwise, our survival is at risk. That is the main point. I'm showing you this photo because he is the president of the Brazil, and this fire is a different fire. It's a man-made fire. People are burning down Amazon forest. Why? To turn the Amazon forest into a grazing and dairy farmland to breeding the cattle and lamb and all this, also planting corn and exporting avocado. So people are burning down Amazon forest to make short-term money. So this is the example of extreme short-termism and the free market economics. We cannot blame the people who are burning the forest to make money if they are so hungry. But in fact, this is done by big businesses who are exporting meat and avocado and corn to the rich country. So this is what is happening based on the free market economics. This is why I'm saying that as long as we cannot reform current free market economics, it will be difficult to keep the climate change happening. So I have been telling you so much already about it. Current free market is like this. I will go over, you can read it. And I'm showing you, because of this problem, at the global level, at the UN level, there has been attempt to come up with a new paradigm, like sustainable development, Millennium Development Goal, and I personally promoted the idea of a green growth. Green growth means green economic growth. My idea was investing in climate change can be an opportunity to drive economic growth and job creation. That was my argument, and I proposed green growth paradigm as when I was working in the UN. And then green economy from UNEP, and the Green New Deal by G20, SDG 2015, and European Union Green Deal, Net Zero 2050, now 2020, US, Japan, China, Korea, Net Zero 2050 declared. So all these attempts has been made, but we still don't know how to realize them. We just propose ideas, but we still don't know how we can achieve them. Big question mark on how. Okay, I will talk about it a little bit later. So, I'm showing you, already I told you, many countries, Biden this year in April, okay? Then I will not explain it. Then the question is, can we sustain economic growth if we reduce our carbon emission and the consumption? Then how about developing country? Then another problem was carbon leakage. The production, our target of reduction for 40%, 20%, this kind of target is based on production. It's not based on consumption. Okay, and also carbon-intensive industry, steel, shipbuilding, aluminum, cement. What happened? How can we decarbonize those industries? These are the questions. I will tell you one story about this. This is United Kingdom. The red line here is emission based on consumption, which means UK, the British reduced about 40% of emission during last 30 years. But this British reduction came from pushing out energy-intensive industry to China and Korea. Because in UK, there's no longer shipping, steel, or automobile industry in UK. It is only knowledge and service economy. This is why their carbon emission based on production reduced 40%. But UK is importing a lot, agricultural or manufactured goods. So if you calculate consumption-based, then it is only 19% reduced in 30 years. Which this is the case of Sweden. This is the consumption base. This is the production base. And this is case of China. This is a production base. Oh, no. This is a consumption base, but this is the production base. So the Chinese actual emission is lower because they're exporting. They don't consume that much. So this is the situation. In other words, British emission is relocated to China. That's the problem. Okay, so one very important issue is, can we change the zero-sum game to positive-sum game? This is a big issue. And unfortunately, I don't have time to explain this. Maybe on another time I can explain about it. And some people ask, this is a question many people are asking me. Is it really possible to reduce carbon emission, big emission reduction? My answer is, it depends on our determination and choice. If we choose to reduce, we can do it, which means we have to pay higher price for carbon. So it does not depend on, to me, technology or any other factors. It rather depends on our choice. It depends on us. It depends on you, whether you are ready for paying the price of carbon. Yeah, this is, I already mentioned to you, because this new technology for clean energy will be the source of future industrial competitiveness. So if you don't lead and lose behind, then you will be losing future industrial competitiveness. This is one idea of supergrid, connecting the grid line around the world and exporting and exchanging renewable energy. Yeah, this is from connecting Russia and well, I don't have time to explain it. So my conclusion is, I'd like to emphasize that net zero 2050 can be a huge opportunity for Russia. There is no reason that Russia cannot be the leader of green innovation and clean energy. Russia has a history of attempting to come up with an experiment. Of course, it was a very drastic experiment, but new economic system like Marxism or whatever. But now you can try another economic system, which is, I believe, should be sustainable market economics system, I hope. So my point is that net zero will be a huge opportunity, but in order to turn net zero 2050 into an opportunity, it depends on you, whether you are willing to take such a determination and to push it. So it is in your hands. So this is my last closing message. And then what is the critical factors for success? Strong governmental leadership and the effective capacity for social and natural science innovation, and the social consensus for sustainable market economy, pushing for long-term sustainability, not only short-term. So this is the factors for success. And I don't have time to explain a lot more about this because I have only 5 minutes left. So thank you very much for attention. And if you have, this is my email, and if you have any questions, something like that. But I'm not sure whether, do I have time? I have 5 minutes left. Okay. Any question? I can take some question. Yes, please.
Спасибо за вашу лекцию. К сожалению, я буду говорить по-русски, а мне это проще. Скажите, пожалуйста, вот если вспоминать одного из отцов-основателей, так сказать, крестного отца устойчивого развития, Денниса Медоуза, он давно уже, еще лет 15 назад, сказал, что нет больше смысла говорить об устойчивом развитии, нужно говорить о кризисном управлении. Уже поздно говорить об устойчивом развитии, цивилизация не может двигаться по этому пути. Многие климатологи, Штефан Рамсторф, Йохан Рокстрöm говорят, что нужно такой темп снижения выбросов, который не может быть совместим с экономическим
deceleration of emissions, which is not compatible with economic growth. We should reduce emission by 5%, which is not compatible with any economic growth. Other people say the same. Stern's report points to the same thing. We cannot reduce. We cannot have more than 3% of economic growth if we reduce emissions. Many economists dealing with climate, Tim Jackson and others, say that green growth is not possible. What is your opinion about such statements?
My answer is, I don't believe those economists. Those economists are using CGE model. Do you know what is CGE model? You know it, right? Computable general equilibrium model used by the economists to argue that economic growth will go down. This is a bullshit. Because it's a rubbish. Because econometrics model based on static input-output model. It is just a tautology, which means if you increase the price of an input, then the output goes down. It's natural. But they don't take into account innovation, structural change of the economy. They never be able to factor in dynamic change of the structure and innovation, never been reflected into that kind of calculation, and no economist can predict 20, 30 years later. You know any economist who even know inflation rate by next month? They don't even know the inflation rate by next month. They don't even know the economic growth rate by next month. How can you believe those economists who are telling you that, oh, economy will go down in 20 years if we increase carbon emission? This is the kind of complete nonsense. These kind of economists are fooling people with the misinformation. So this is why I'm telling you that we need different economics modeling, which is dynamic, which can internalize innovation. Economists never expected Apple or notebook, that they never expected it. They never anticipated it. So we cannot rely on the economist. Rather, we can rely on our human instinct is much better than the economist calculation. That's my answer. I can tell you later a little bit more. I have I can come up with later a lot more data and information about it, but since I don't have time, so I cannot go into much more detail. So that is exactly the kind of belief. So many people are fooled by the economists, by this CGE model, which is fooling people and threatening people. We have to get out of this. Otherwise, we cannot see the future. This is my main message for you. This is why I say that we need a new economics theory, new climate economics. Not only my idea, Google it, new climate economy report. You will see huge literature arguing climate mitigation will stimulate economic growth rather than reducing economic growth. So there are very different new group of economists coming up, only recently. But their voice is still not very much heard by many people. Okay.
Excuse me, I have a question. So what's the situation with eco-green activism in South Korea? What's the situation with green activism in South Korea?
South Korea?
Yeah.
You mean the net zero or climate change?
Climate change and green activism.
Green?
Activism.
Action?
Activism.
Accident? Green?
Eco-activism.
Yeah, eco movement, yeah, in South Korea.
In South Korea, they are trying. Yesterday, the Korean government announced it will reduce 40% of reduction by 2030 in 9 years. 40% in 9 years. It's a huge challenge and huge task. But United States declared 52%. United States. So these governments are trying to come up with a very ambitious target. It's very encouraging, but in order to make those targets really achievable, then we have to take a strong action. But the problem is, still so many people, the business and even some people, are so much concerned about economic growth and rising electricity bill. They are concerned about, oh, my electricity bill might go up. But I'm asking those people, what is more important, electricity bill or your survival? That is normally another question to those people who are questioning about it. But recently we had a survey in Korea. 70% of the people say that they are willing to pay $20 more for electricity bill per month. So there are 70% of the people are willing to pay higher price for the electricity for climate change issues. So this is the kind of situation. Yeah. Finish? Okay. Thank you.